This is the back of a zinc mine on Clabber Creek. This is doesn't go back very far, probably about 15 feet. I don't know if you can see that's the entrance. It's raining outside, so I use this as a napping area sometimes. It's a pretty nice day. It's not too hot. It's not really buggy or snaky or a pack rat nest built up in here, so let's do a little bit of flint napping. I don't know how well this is going to turn out. I've propped some rocks up so you can set the camera here, hopefully. It will be in view. Probably need to do some filing on my tie-in here in a bit. Let's just do a little work on this Pitken preform. I'm not quite sure what I'm making yet, but I just brought a few tools, just the punch and the buffalo shearing tool and an abrader, and my buffalo leg bone striker. People have been asking about these. You can use anything. A cow bone. I did break one hitting really hard on a piece of buffalo horn. I drilled it in the end to let the oil and some air circulation in there. Bones will weather and crack if they dry out quick. You can see some little lines in there, but I like the weight forward. And I mean, it's not too heavy, but it's just heavy enough to strike the small punch and really get a lot of energy into it. And I might actually need to cut. I didn't bring a small piece of leather, so I'll probably have to cut a piece off this when I need to support the flakes. I've got the back. This mine works out nicely too. For the side wall, I'll just put my end of my shaft punch against that so I can get the right inward. I usually use a rock or something, but this ought to work fine. It's effectively a gigantic rock. This needs to be... Let me try to get another rock underneath there. Oh, I found this. I used to do my heat treating in the bank across the creek at Sandy, and I was walking over and I found this exotic piece of heat treated Burlington years ago. Must have forgot to collect it, and it just washed down. So maybe I'll hammerstone that too if we have time, and then finish it with the shaft punch. I'm gonna need to get higher. Maybe I can use this piece of chert underneath the phone here. That's about as good as it's going to get, I think. If the camera was higher, it might help it. You get to see the angles anyhow. Maybe it would be good to see this view. So, let's start by just doing a little edge evening. This black flint doesn't show up very well. But using the abrader, I'm going to take a small flake along this ridge, so I'm going to turn the edge back just a little bit. This is a sort of a lower grade of Pitken, but it ought to work fine. See the bridge? My fingers are separated. I don't want this flake to be trapped because there's a flat area. I'm punching right here and it's just a little flat there. So I'm going to bridge it and get a small flake to follow through. Just contour building and keeping it clean. I've mentioned this before, and I'll say it again. The people that get into this indirect percussion, they like the accuracy. They also want to take a lot of big flakes. And if you're doing a lot of, if you're trying to transition from the copper to the antler, practice doing all of these small resharpening and edge turning flakes. Because you'll really learn your angles. You'll learn how hard you need to hit. And you're going to work off with you're going to work off with very subtle and smaller edges. So you can work up to the bigger flakes. And if you do a lot of edge grinding, try to the stage before you do your punching, just sort of do more spot grinding on your platforms instead, so that you don't have to power through a lot of rounded, dull edges that may be higher or lower. Because if you did that, you're really going to have to back off your angle and do a lot of, you might not have enough punch to do that. So a lot of these artifacts were used before they're finished. They have a life cycle sometimes. And so you don't always need to have everything ground and finished at once. You can work in stages and do some resharpening. See how that edge is getting straighter and nice. And I've worked the contours into this side to where I can keep going and everything is smooth. When I was learning napping, two things made it difficult to get in the rhythm of working on projects. One is that I had to concentrate so much that you end up with just a fatigue of concentration. And I sort of would look at the clock and sort of decide what my tolerance for attention was. And it took a while to build up to even an hour. And another thing was I got fairly competent at percussion, and then I was doing things like getting contours too flat and wide. I was using too much billet, and I was chipping myself. I mean, I was making thin bifaces, but I wasn't controlling bodies to give myself options later on, and I would sort of get frustrated and then try to finish things knowing that no matter what I did, it was going to be just okay, and I wasn't getting the variation in my work that I wanted. So it's just the tools sort of drive what you can do. So setting stuff down and switching tools and regrouping, yeah, it really helped. So there's a little, where I have the brighter, that white area, I'm going to put the punch just below that and do just a blending through here. If this was a higher grade of Pitken, I would be using the buffalo horn instead of this. You can keep a little rounder with the buffalo horn, but this material would just kind of chew it up a little bit more than I'd want. I wish you guys could I'll go a couple more minutes and then we'll... There. Is that better? Whoop. Masonry skills. A little rusty here. Alright. There. Is that a little better? Let me try to lean down a little. sitting in areas like this with the click, click, click sound and the, especially antler pressure flaking. Antler pressure flaking will attract young, dumb turkeys. If they can't see you, they'll sometimes pop their head around a tree and look at you like a, well, you'd wonder how they never went extinct by the befuddled and ridiculous looks on their face when they realize you're not a turkey. I have a little bit more work to do here, and then I can turn and catch up with my work on the other side. Let's do that with some shearing. I started filing. The buffalo is just horn, is just hair. See all the little stringy strands? And then it's laminated. So using it this way, it's super strong. And the little fibers sort of grab. But I grind it. You think that you'd want it pointed, you don't. And you don't want it flat on either sides. I grind it, file it a little bit off the bottom, and then I'm flaking just along there. It ends up wearing up, and then I just put a little bevel on it. And I've used this thing, well, it was a little bit longer, but it's super, super durable and lightweight. And the bison for shearing is just super. You can go to the pet store somewhere and get a water buffalo horn or any other kind of cow horn, but for the shearing, this stuff is just hard to beat. Sometimes get up on the corner when I have to take more of a pressure flake. The bluntness of the horn, you can't use it fine and pointed. So the resharpening, when you get organized, it really, the shearing, the retouch of the shearing is phenomenal. What you can do with just some careful raking that looks intentionally microscopically cool. And two, ooh, thunder. This is the best place I could be in the event of a lightning strike. So the bluntness, though, when you start doing Cody kind of stuff or controlled bodied points with resharpened cross sections that are diamond, is you end up with some of the same edge characteristics for alternate flaking. In other words, take a flake here, turn it over, and come back. If you block that stuff to where it can't move, you end up with some results that you can't duplicate with another tool. It's extremely authentic. And you just, when you get these tools, antler or buffalo, and you're working on a raw chert and you're pressing and it seems you feel like weak as a little kid, it's just, you have to learn how to build and brush and know what edges you can push and then when to apply the force. It's not a matter of brute strength. It is a matter of just timing and finesse, where you just don't wear yourself out. And then you just build, hand strength, just like playing an instrument or anything like that. You end up getting used to it. So you couldn't hardly see this, but